back to another video. My name is Alizaya and I'm your favorite black transsexual. Get up into the big part, whatever. I'm back. Before we get to today's video, girl, I need you guys to like, comment, and subscribe because you would never find another black transsexual like me. Hello. I'm beautiful, you're beautiful. Get up into the big part, whatever. Go ahead and lock in on myself. So today's video is going to be another unpopular opinions video, but this time it's going to be on the LGBTQ community because, girl, you know Miss Alizaya had to wake it up, girl, bada bing, bada boom. So the first unpopular opinion that I have is that gay men are very transphobic. I'm not saying that every gay male that I come across is transphobic and, you know, utterly talks about me and talks behind my back, but there is a small group of gay boys, and particularly gay boys with the nails, with the lashes.
A woman is a transgender woman and you are still attracted to them, you are gay.
You consider yourself like a transgender?
No, that shit gotta go. No.
So what do you consider yourself?
I am a boy that can temper in and out.
Talk about trans women using women's restrooms. Let's talk about it because it's interesting. So I've been seeing around lately that there was this I don't know exactly what to say, but somebody was coming on somebody, and you know, because in the past 2 weeks they were caught in a woman's bathroom, and I think there was a child there or something. Like, it turned into a whole situation. And I'm not even gonna lie, like, as a grown adult with a normal operating brain who has nieces, nephews, cousins, and all that, you know, I personally would not want my nieces and my young little girl cousins and all that really being in the same space as a, you know, biological male when you're supposed to put that, you know, specific space is designated for just, you know, on a sports team of any sort, competing against women, because we're just naturally gonna beat them. Naturally, it's just bound to happen. I don't think that we also should be using the same bathroom, because now what happens when the cases and the groupings and the and all that happens? Now what?
And so then that's where, like I said, why are you including every trans person when that happens? Because if we're gonna be for real, black men do the same thing. White men do the same thing. Biological straight people do the same thing. But I just don't understand how people can sit over here and get on the internet, especially a gay boy, and sit over here and want to talk about trans women and talk all types of crazy about trans women when you were literally in our same shoes. You were literally walking our same path. I'm not saying that you want to sit over here and be a woman, that you're doing this, you're doing that, because everybody is different. The thing that I always sit over here and say is I'm very humble on, you know, the position I'm in, the predicaments I'm in, you know, the life journey that I'm in. I'm a transgender woman, I'm a transgender individual, and I love gay and queer people, but I don't understand how you can sit over here and judge me just because you see another trans woman get on the internet, and you know, they're acting crazy, and you think that's how the whole community acts. Like, I don't understand that. Like, I think that's just so ghetto to me, and I just want to sit over here and, you know, break this whole barrier of, you know, gay versus trans versus gay, this versus that. It shouldn't be like that. The way that I look at the world, I say that everybody has the same 24 hours as Beyonce. So live life to the fullest. You only get one life. I don't understand this whole divide of, you know, they are never women, they are this, they are that. Because if we want to sit over here and play those type of games, then you're sinful your damn self. You sitting over here, you know, being sinful, getting on Grindr, you know, getting your back blown out. Like, I don't understand the whole divide. That's why, like, you know, you can't just sit over here and poop on another person and that person is pooping on you, then you're pooping on them. Then it's a whole, you know, whirlpool of, you know, pooping on each other. It's a lot of, you know, poops. I think it's foolish. I think we as a community need to come back together and get to learn each other. Because not every trans person is ghetto. Not every gay person is, you know, homophobic or transphobic. Not every this is not every that. Like, I hate putting people in boxes because you're not supposed to put people in boxes. You're supposed to get to know people. You only get one life. Live life to the fullest and do what makes you happy. I will always preach this. I don't want to sit over here and I don't want to sit over here and be stagnant. And none of my sisters should want to be stagnant. Get to know people. Like, you know, sit over here and be flamboyant. Go live life. Get to learn people and, you know, try to, you know, experience new experiences. This is why when I see gay boys, I immediately, you know, try to befriend them. That's what I'm trying to say. I try to befriend any queer person because, like, girl, I will always preach this to the day I die. Gay people are the most superior people and they're the strongest people under black women. Girl, oh my God, being a queer person, being a gay person, and being a gay male in society, you really got it. Like, you're really a strong individual, and I really root for anybody who's gay because, girl, I don't go through your experience, but I just know, girl, we both on the borderline. Like, we're both on the borderline of hatred, girl. It's ghetto. That's why I don't understand why we're always constantly fighting with each other. But bada bing, bada boom.
Next caller.
The next unpopular opinion that I have is that detransitioners are very much valid. I cannot stand the fact that people are sitting over here, how would I even say, people are dismissing detransitioners and acting like they're not human beings. These detransitioners are human beings, and they're human beings with feelings. I always say this, these people are people who haven't had nobody to tell them that maybe you should take time, maybe you should, maybe not rush into your transition, maybe you should just sit over here and try to socially transition first, so you can, like, learn the roots and the routes and the other basically what I'm trying to say is, I feel like some people really need hugs. I feel like somebody needs to be there for these people while they're socially transitioning, so they can have help when they want to start medically transitioning, and they can have resources, and they can have somebody to guide through their transition. I feel like a lot of us are transitioning without help, and TikTok is about to get banned. We don't want to get into that, but I feel like TikTok was the biggest help in helping me find my transition. And I feel so bad for the trans youth and younger trans people who are finally wanting to come out as transgender, finally wanting to start their transition, but they don't have nowhere to turn to. They don't have no people to sit over here and feel encouraged to transition, or no role models. That's what I'm trying to say. There are no real role models when it comes to transitioning, and we have stories of the youth detransitioning. We got clips like these.
The vantage point that you have now, looking back on that, is it traumatizing to think about?
Absolutely. It's horrifying. This shouldn't have been an option for me. It hurts knowing, like, I could have just grown up without any intervention, and I could have been completely normal. I wouldn't be dealing with all the stuff that I am now. I'm having some pretty serious complications from my surgery, on top of all the trauma that it's caused me. If somebody just told me, like, this isn't going to make you into a boy, and there's no guarantee that doing any of this is going to resolve your distress, you're perfect as you are as a woman. The issue isn't your body, it's the way that you think of it. And no matter what you do to yourself, what you take, what surgeries you get, you're always going to be a woman, and you're enough. I wouldn't be dealing with any of this right now.
Did anyone say that to you?
I'm 18 years old, and I am a woman who has detransitioned. I am actively suing Kaiser Permanente, and I'm suing the doctors that gave me those treatments related to my transition.
I think you're one of the youngest detransitioners other than myself that I know of, and you actually started transitioning a year earlier than I did, and 2 years before I got my vasectomy. You were 12 when you started testosterone blockers, right?
Yeah.
Blockers?
Initially, yeah, they started me on Lupron, and then they put me on testosterone.
You got your mastectomy at 13, just a few years after you started puberty. And that makes me upset personally. How do you feel about that? What's it like dealing with that?
It's very conflicting. But honestly, I'm very upset that it was done to me so young, and also, not to mention, in a headspace where I just shouldn't have been able to make those kind of decisions. I actually had never seen like a diagram of like the organ and like the lactation, like organs, like the glands and all that, until really recently I saw a diagram. They never showed anything like that to me, and they really watered it down and just called it top surgery, not a radical.
Not a double mastectomy.
Double mastectomy, what it was, right?
Flabbergasted. First off, Lupron. Ain't that the drug? We're gonna look this up real quick. Ain't that the drug they give senders? Lupron, also known as lupulide acetate, is a has been used as chemical castration treatment for sex offenders. Y'all giving offender drugs to children who are 12.
This is where I had to add my little 2 cents in. I don't understand how you as a human being can't take some accountability for why you detransition. Some of y'all really need to sit over here and socially transition and figure out if you're trans or not, and to sit over here and do research when you're getting on hormones and when you're doing these surgeries, because you don't know what could happen. Your body could sit over here and have an allergic reaction, or you might not do well with hormones or something of the sort. These people don't do research, which I feel bad, because literally nobody told you to do research, girl.
But at the same time, you got to take some accountability. You can't blame everybody for everything bad that happens to you, because then that's not taking accountability and you're never going to be strong. And then I don't know, to the, you would never be a woman, this and that. You would never be a man, this and that. Why? Like, I don't understand some of these trans people, just some people in general, because I know I would never be a born or biological woman. I know I would never be that, or whatever you want to call it. I ain't going to say the word because I ain't for losing no subscribers. But I know who I am. I'm transgender. I will repeat this for the ones who are new. Transgender, okay? I know who I am. I'm not going into my transition trying to seek anything else. I don't need nobody else's validation. I don't need this stuff to feel validated in my trans journey and my trans identity. I need myself. This is what the problem is with the trans community and just the gay community in general. Y'all don't have no self-love. So when you're trying to do all these artificial things to your body and trying to enhance it, this is why you're sad and you're always sitting over here fighting with depression and fighting with, self-hate issues. You need to love yourself. That's the issue.
I say this a lot. You need to take time in your transition, and you really need to do research, because I said this before and I will always say this again. You need to figure out who you are before you really get into your transition. I know a lot of people might be like, well, I already know who I am because I already want to get into, my transition. I already want to transition. Like, girl, we know that you're trans, but do you think you're strong enough to be trans? Because a lot of people glamorize being trans. I don't think being trans is so glamorizing and just all, rainbows and giggles that everybody, thinks it is, and, that is portrayed in the media. You have to constantly fight for your rights. You have to constantly fight for acceptance. You have to constantly have a battle with gender dysphoria. You have to constantly sit over here and fight. You have to keep pushing even when times get hard. And that's why I preach to the tippity top of my tongue, to keep loving yourself, no matter if you're ugly, no matter if you feel like you're not beautiful, no matter if you feel like you're clocky. I get on camera looking the holy hot mess, but do you think I'm going to beat myself over it and be like, oh my God, Alizea, girl, you looking a little botched right now. Girl, it's not the end of the world. I'm transgender. This is why I don't understand about a lot of people. A lot of people are ashamed of being transgender. When a lot of people feel like, when they finally get into their medical transition, they finally get all the surgeries to pass, they think that, what, since I passed already, maybe I should just live my life as a cisgender person. A real woman or a real man or whatever you want to call it. I say this loud and proud. No amount of surgeries, no amount of BBLs, no amount of fillers, no amount of any this and that, all this other stuff, but no amount of passability. Let's get back on track. No amount of passability will ever hide the fact that you are truly trans deep down inside. And there's nothing to hide about you being transgender. Why not embrace being transgender? I will always say this. I love being transgender. I love being black and trans. I think my trans identity is so valid because I'm me. And that's what I love about all of my gay sisters, all of my trans sisters. You're you. And I really wish that a lot of people wouldn't try to force this onto... this is gonna, get controversial, but I really wish a lot of people wouldn't try to force this on the youth. And I'm not saying that, all trans people are forcing this down on the youth. All trans people think that, somebody knows who they truly are when they feel like they know who they truly are. But to an exception, I don't feel like everybody should rush to transition medically, because, there is consequences with transitioning medically. And I'm not saying that, how do I per se, because now I feel like I'm getting a little controversial. How do I say this? What I'm trying to say is, for female to male trans people, you getting on testosterone is a very powerful hormone. It's a very powerful hormone. And I'm telling you, it does drastic things to your body. Your voice gets so deep. Your face, girl, you want me looking like me, girl. No tea, no shade. You don't want to look like me, girl. No tea, no shade. Like, hello. But, girl, I just don't know. It's I just feel like you should be safe and secure enough that you want to get on those testosterone blockers, that you want to do all this, you want to do all that medically. I feel like you should take time before you rush into it, because you only live once. And a lot of people regret, transitioning. Not saying that there's a lot. We have cases. Let's not act like there's not cases. We have people who regret transitioning medically, and they're always talking about, I wish somebody told me this. I wish somebody told me that. I say this a lot. You should have did research You should have did research. Your story is valid, don't get me wrong, but you should have did research. You should have sat over here and really, like, you know, ask deeper questions. And you should ask your peers, like your trans peers. The internet is a very big place, so you can get answers right then and there. You should ask people like, hey, should I do this? Or how do I go about my transition? Or, you know, what's the side effects of testosterone? What's the side effects of estrogen? A lot of people don't do research, and that's what bothers me with detransitioners. That's what bothers me with the trans community, period. No amount of surgeries will ever hide that you're transgender. No amount of BBLs will hide that you're transgender. No amount of all this and all that will hide that you are you. Just embrace you being you. There's nothing shameful about you being a transgender individual. And if anything, you got to embrace it, because if you don't embrace it, you're always going to hate yourself. You're always going to have self-hate issues, and you're never truly going to be happy. You're going to be constantly battling with depression. I rest my case.
Oh, now that's how you clear a bitch.
The next unpopular opinion that I have, and this one's going to ruffle my sister's feathers. Just because somebody doesn't support you being LGBTQ doesn't mean that it's the end of the world. So get over it. I know a lot of people are going to unsubscribe. I know a lot of people are going to drag me through the mud. I don't care, girl. Listen to me, and I want you to hear me out if you are still here. So bada bing, bada boom, let's lock in. What I'm trying to say is, who really cares if somebody doesn't support you being you? Because I say this a lot. You're walking your own path, and not everybody is obligated to support everything that you do. Not everybody's obligated to sit over here and support your journey, support your trans journey, support your gay journey, support you being queer, support you doing this, doing that. And even if you're not queer, supporting you opening a business, supporting you doing this, supporting you moving there, doing this, doing that. Like, nobody is obligated to support you. You should be your own support system in this world, because I say this a lot. Everybody has the same 24 hours as Beyonce. Do what makes you happy. Why are you living for other people's validations? I don't care if people sit over here and call me a man. I don't care if people sit over here and don't see me as a valid trans woman. I went to work today, and girl, you know, I vlogged the whole thing. I'm not gonna lie, you know, I was looking ugly, and I know I was looking ugly in person. I don't care if I look like a man. I just live my life for me, because you only get one life. And I don't want to get emotional when I say this, but like, you only get one life. I don't understand the whole, you know, demanding respect and stuff like that, because who really cares? If these people don't want to support you in your journey, if these people don't want to support you in everything that you got going on for yourself, kick their to the curb, because they're not walking your path. You're walking your own path, and I get so emotional on this, because you are you. You have to stand in your life. You have to stand in your path. You have to stand in your own journey. I say this a lot, and I will continuously say this loud and proud. You should set boundaries. You should stay firm on your boundaries. Like, I really mean, stand 10 toes down in your transition. Stay 10 toes down on who you are as a person. I don't like people running over my friends, and it bothers me a lot when my friends come and tell me, like, you know, oh, so-and-so did this to me, or so-and-so is acting this way to me, or so-and-so is ghosting me. Girl, I'm the type of person to cut any and everybody off, and I feel like that's a tactic that I've always, you know, had, you know, with not being able to communicate with people. I have horrible communication skills. That's what I'm trying to say. But I feel like I stay firm on me. I say this a lot. You don't need to demand respect, because you know who you are as a human being. You're a human being, and you're a human being with feelings. And every miserable person that always comes for you in your journey, kick their to the curb, because they're not walking your path. Nicki Minaj always said this. She said, live your life for you, and don't let nobody else tell you what to do. And I always sit over here and stand on that. Like, I stand on doing what makes me happy, and you should too. You shouldn't sit over here and beg respect. Respect is earned, the way that I look at it. I don't care how nobody feels. Yes, respect is earned. You don't have to respect me. I don't care about your respect. I don't care if you see me as a woman. I don't care if you see me as a man. Whatever it gives, that's what it gave, girl. I don't care. What I always will say is, I know who I am. I'm Alizea. I'm your favorite black transsexual, and it ain't never going to be anything more. You should always stay firm on who you are, and I always will stand on that.
Wake it up. Wake it up.
The next unpopular opinion that I have is stop falling in love with these DL men. Oh my God, I know a lot of people are literally going to drag me by the mud because, you know, I feel like a lot of people are going to think that I'm being hypocritical, but I'm not trying to be hypocritical. This is coming from my heart and this is coming from my feelings. I really want a lot of people to understand that I say this loud and proud. You're not an object. You're a human being. You're a human being with feelings. My page and, you know, how do I per se, my story times are entertainment purposes only. Like, you know, I have a high body count. I'm not going to sit over here and be ashamed of my high body count. I can't go back in time and undo all the guys, you know, that I've, you know, dealt with. You get what I mean? But I set boundaries and I stand firm on who I am as a person. I say this a lot and I will say this proud. I don't need no man to validate me as a woman. I don't need no man to validate me as a trans person. I don't care about that. If you don't see me as who I am, bye, kick to the curb. Like, I'm not going to sit over here and cry over you, girl. There's 8 billion people in this world. Why be mad over one? Why be sad over one? Why be fighting over one? Why be angry over one? Like, girl, you got to be absolutely crazy. I say this a lot. I say this with a lot of my sisters and a lot of my girls. And there's sometimes where y'all will ask me, like, how do you know if a guy is this? How do you know if a guy is that? How do you know if he's interested in me? How do you know if he's, you know, how do you know if he loves me or likes me, this and that? Girl, let me tell you this, and I've always said this firmly. Number one, is he DL? If he's DL already, mark him off the list. You shouldn't even be falling in love with a DL. I used to be that type of gay boy. Back when I was a gay boy, you know, I used to, you know, fall for the trade. I'm not going to sit over and act like I wasn't. I was falling for the trade. When I finally got my first piece of trade, girl, I was head over heels. But then there's stories where, you know, these guys will spin the block when they stories and they secrets get out and they will take you off of this planet. My life is very important. My life is very valid. I would not put my life in risk. I would not. Like, my life is too beautiful and your life is too beautiful to just be dealing with somebody who's freaking, I don't want to, shame nobody, but like, girl, that is a queen. That is a queen who's in denial. I don't understand why you're trying to hide yourself. I never understood that. There's a difference between the DLs and the trade. You get what I mean? We got the DL trade, we got the DLs, then we got the trade. You know, I love the trade, okay? I would never go wrong with no trade. You get what I mean? If I'm going to dibble and dabble with the guys, you know, I'm going to dibble and dabble with the trade. You get what I mean? I love bisexual men. I'm telling y'all, you're sitting over here desiring masculinity. There's nothing wrong with a femme top. There's nothing wrong with a femme bottom or whatever y'all into, girl. I don't know. This is why I say the LGBTQ community, girl, y'all be on the spectrum. Y'all be, you know, busting the wide open. Love y'all though, girl. Get up into the, you know, Megan Thee Stallion. I'm saying this a lot. You're never going to get anywhere messing with a DL guy. You're never going to move forward. He's always going to, you know, only call you when it's midnight and only call you when he's interested. And every time you tell him about your feelings, he's like, oh yeah, that's what's up, or oh yeah. It's just like one-worded conversations. Like, I hate dry people, and I feel like a lot of DL guys are very dry, and I cannot stand, oh my God, I don't mean to, like, you know, offend anybody when I say this, but I can't understand why people will sit over here and get so mad when a DL guy ghosts them. You knew what you were messing with. And then he comes around and says, oh, I got a baby mama now, or my girlfriend just gave birth, or, you know, I'm back together with my girlfriend, and now you going off on him talking about, we were supposed to be together, we were supposed to be this, we were supposed to be that. You knew he was gay. You knew he was DL. You knew he was not interested in you as a person. He was only interested in what you can provide, that washing machine treatment. Why are you falling in love with the trade? I'm not finna sit over here and sugarcoat nothing. Stop falling in love with the trade. You're gonna end up looking stupid. Next caller. And the last and final unpopular opinion that I have, and this one is directly for my black and queer folks or whatever, so get up into the ghetto-ness or whatever. Your family is homophobic for a reason, and you just have to accept it. I want a lot of people to understand that your parents went through a lot back in their lifehood. Like, I don't know how old y'all's parents was, but I'm speaking directly from mine, okay? This is just, you know, speaking about my mother, okay? Your parents are doing a lot for you, and I didn't understand why my mother was so homophobic and why my mother just couldn't fathom the fact that I am transgender and that I want to be, a woman. You get what I mean? I want to live my life as a woman. Me and my mother used to bump heads a lot. We used to bump heads on me and my transition because she just couldn't understand that her son wanted to be a girl and wanted to be her daughter. She just couldn't understand it. And we used to get into battles and fights about it, and she used to sit over here and call me the F slur and sit over here and say that I'm always an F slur and that I'm this and I'm that, and that used to taint me, and that used to sit over here and make me feel some type of way. You get what I mean? I didn't understand why my mother was that way. Back then I was always, second guessing my transition. I was always second guessing everything about me because, there was no real support system. I came out to my mother, around, 16 or whatever, right? And when I came out the first time, she kicked me out and she said I would not allow no gay stuff in my household, and I'm not allowing that stuff in my household. And that broke me. That broke me into tears. We have stories of, queer people, coming out to their parents and it's going horribly wrong like this.
Mother found out son was gay. That's why you stabbed me. And that's why you stabbed me. That's why I said not her. That ain't what happened. Why you talking, bitch? Why you talking? Nobody talking. You sitting here getting mad at me talking about some you I'm embarrassing you embarrassing me too. You had people texting me 3, 4 o'clock in the morning talking about that's my mama. Whatever embarrassing is, I guess guarantee they know his dick goes in his pussy and not too pussy. Well, my record clean. And it don't matter what your record clean. Squeaky clean. It don't matter. An army man that's like motherfucker. It ain't too embarrassing. One thing about it. No, I ain't embarrassed. You embarrassed. I'm not embarrassed. I'm most definitely embarrassed. I'm most definitely embarrassed. Knowing that my son taking dick up the ass, taking well. I'm most definitely embarrassed.
I truly say this loud and proud. If your family doesn't support you, I would just say move on. Literally move on. Me, though, on the other hand, I really now understand why my mother was the way that she was. My mother was born in a time where, schools weren't even, desegregated. Schools were still in the process of getting desegregated. She was born in a time where, I would say, whoopings were legalized. And I'm not talking about, the old-fashioned belt whoopings. No, girl. I'm talking about the paddles, girl. It was a lot of ghetto-ness. I feel like my mama had a lot of childhood trauma, and I feel like my mama gave up her life to take care of me, and I feel like she kind of resented me, taking away her life. And now, she wants she wants her boys to grow up big and strong, to be self-sufficient and stuff like that. And now her child is transitioning to a girl, and now she feels like her whole world is crumbling. And we used to get into fights like that, and it was to a point where I would sit over here and I would, argue with her about it because, like, I told her I don't feel masculine. I don't like doing masculine things. I just want to be me. And, when she would search, about trans people, she would only see bad representation of trans people. This is why I say I wish there was better representation of trans people, because I didn't even know there was, like, no real good representation of trans people. I'm sorry for the stuttering, girl. Just hang on there. But I say this loud and proud. Your parents do so much for you, and you get one set of parents. You get what I mean? I understand that it's so toxic to be around your transphobic and your homophobic parents, and they just can't understand, and they think it's so sinful for you to be you. I always say this: it doesn't matter if they don't accept you. I don't need nobody's acceptance. I never needed nobody's acceptance. I just told her flat out, I'm going to be me, and I'm going to do what I want to do, and this is how I'm going to live it. And she finally came around and accepted me. And I was talking to my brother a while ago, I think a couple of months ago, and I was asking him, and I was talking, and we were bringing up my mother, and he basically told me that my mother sacrificed a lot to make sure that she had food on the table. And I felt like it kind of scarred me to hear the stories that she was going through to make sure that there was food on the table, to make sure that there was, that she was providing for her child. And I feel like I was being so selfish. I feel like a lot of us are very selfish when it comes to, our transition, because I feel like a lot of us are demanding respect. This is why I say you shouldn't demand respect. Respect is earned. And you know, my mother always told me, she said that I'm not going to call you by your preferred pronouns if you're going to keep calling me out my name. And I would be like, well, you should respect it anyway. You should respect it anyway. Alizea, pause. This is your mother that you're talking to like that. You need to go to therapy. Like, you shouldn't be talking to your mother like that. When my mother flipped over and died, that's what made me realize, dang, y'all, like, I need to go back in time and I need to say sorry. I need to apologize. I told my mother that I hope she flips over and she doesn't come back. And girl, what happened? She didn't come back, girl. And I feel like that played a part in why I'm so, traumatized now and why I just feel the way that I feel now. But I feel like her death has played a part in why I feel like I'm so strong. I say this loud and proud. You only get one set of parents, and you should really cherish your parents. Although that they're homophobic and although that they, have, toxic traits, I don't feel like every set of parents is very, nasty. I feel like how do I say this? I feel like the set of parents that we have, I feel like their childhood trauma is getting passed down to you, and you have to be the person to break down and break away that childhood trauma. You have to break those barriers and you have to break those shackles. I want to keep breaking those shackles. I don't want, when I have kids in the future, I want to, be able to provide for my kids without sitting over here making horrible sacrifices. And my mother did a lot for me. And I feel like all of our parents are doing a lot for us. I feel like we only get one set of parents, and I feel like us trying to sit over here and beg for forgiveness, beg for this, beg for that. I say this a lot. You have to be able to accept your childhood trauma. And we have Black households where our parents and our mothers would sit over here and scream at us and scream and shout and tell us that we're wrong. We shouldn't sit over here and talk. We shouldn't talk back. Stop talking back. Stop doing it. Stop doing that. So it's just like you're getting resentment against them. Now I understand why our parents were saying this. Now I understand why our parents were acting this way and acting that way. That's how they were taught. That's how they were raised. And I didn't understand why my mother was the way that she was, but it's like throughout her life, she only knew that. So now she's having this child who's transitioning. She just didn't know what to do as a parent. And I felt like she failed as a parent. And she always told me I should come to church and I should hear the Lord. I always say this: I would never go step foot in a church. I would never step foot in a church as a trans woman, because I just know the transphobia is going to come spilling out. I know it. And what did I do? I went in there and the transphobia was spilling out. It got to a point where I just felt so uncomfortable, and I felt like I didn't have nobody. So she saw that I was feeling uncomfortable, and she told me, like, I want you to understand that I love you, and you're my child, and I just want what's best for you. I just wish you weren't screaming at me, cussing at me, doing this, doing that. And I didn't understand what she meant at the time, but now I understand. I felt like now I'm in the wrong for a lot of things that have happened, and I feel like a lot of us are in the wrong. I feel like a lot of us are, sitting over here. How do I per se? I feel like a lot of us are taking for granted the parents that we have. I feel like if your parents are accepting you as transgender, they just don't agree with certain lifestyles and certain decisions that you do, hear them out, because maybe they were down that path. Maybe they were going through the things that you're going through now. I just wish that I could go back in time and hug my mother and apologize for the things that I do. And this is why I say, if your parents are accepting you, but they're just a tad bit homophobic, I would just say live. Just live with it. I don't care if my mother was to call me Isaiah. Now, like, if I was to go back in time, I would be like, Isaiah, it's not that serious. Like, it's not that serious. Because it's like, it's not that serious. You only get one set of parents. And I really wish that I could apologize. I really do. I feel like that's part of my childhood trauma, that I had to accept that my mother is gone. The arguments that we used to have, that's why I don't like yelling. I hate yelling. I feel like a lot of us hate people who yell at us. I feel like a lot of us demand respect because we didn't get that respect when we were younger, and we didn't get that respect during, us coming out and our coming out stories, and, living with toxic parents, all that other stuff. You know what I'm talking about, girl. But I just feel like a lot of us are battling with insecurities and battling with this and that. My mother told me that I'm beautiful. My mother told me that I need to sit over here and fight for my own respect, and I need to keep pushing for myself, and I only live my life for me and to do what makes me happy. She told me this when I was like 5 or 6 years old. Not 5 or 6, but like 8 years old or 10 years old. She said, do what makes you happy. And I feel like when she said that message you know, set a spark in why I'm gay and why I'm queer now, because I just accepted it. I like guys. I love being me. I love being trans. I embrace everything that comes with me. And it hurts my feelings that I see a lot of people sit over here and, you know, cuss their parents out and talk about their parents and do this and that. I say this a lot. If your parents were to flip over and die, who do you have to call? When it's Thanksgiving and you don't have no other family members and your only family member that you had was your mother, who do you have to call? Your people are dead. You need to be very humble. You only get one set of group of parents. And I will always say this. Embrace it. And just embrace it, loves. You only get one group of parents. Like, your parents are homophobic for a reason. Maybe they didn't have, you know, they didn't have nobody to teach them that maybe it's not so wrong to be this, no, so wrong to do that. This is why I say when you come out as gay and you come out as queer, this is your time to educate people. Not just your parents, not just your friends, not just your partner. Educate the world around you. You're supposed to be a staple and you're supposed to represent. You're supposed to stand up and represent. This is why if nobody's going to represent my community, I'll be the one to represent my community. I don't give a fuck. I'm going to represent. I'm going to stand 10 toes down on myself. I love being trans. I love being queer. And ain't nobody going to stop me. And I really wish I got to show my mother who I am as a queer person. Because you only get one life. And I saw that my mother just flipped over and died. That made me realize you really do get on one life. I love my life. And I love being me. And I wouldn't want to be anything different. Stand 10 toes down in your transition. Stand 10 toes down in your queerness. Stand 10 toes down in your life. You only get one life, sisters. But that's it for this Unpopular Opinions, girl. I only, you know, wanted to get on here and just make this video because I'm bored and I ain't got nothing else to do. But yeah, I'll talk to you guys later. I know this video is a little ghetto and ratchet and the quality is bad. But girl, you get what I mean, girl. You knew what you were signing up for. Bye, loves. Bye.